I'm Richard Lewis reporting for cadred.org, and I'm here with a controversial and plain-speaking figure. It's Destiny. So, let's start at the beginning. I've been wanting to ask you some questions, and the interviews that have gone out so far have been getting the attention because I've been getting some good reactions from people by asking some curveballs. So, be prepared, all right?
Okay.
So here's the first thing I want to talk about, and it's probably the big talking point for everyone right now, the move to root. I want you to talk me through how you see that, you know, your kind of version, I guess, is the way to put it before I go on to my next question.
Like starting like when?
Well, I mean,
like from Quantic to root, or?
Yeah.
Okay. The way that it worked out was Quantic was being pressured a lot by Razer to let me go. I talked to Mark from Quantic, who's the CEO. He's a super nice guy. All the management over there was super nice. And in talking to him, like, he gave me the option to stay, but if I did stay, it would severely hurt the financial relationship between Quantic and Razer. If I stayed, I didn't want to stay in an area where I felt like I would be a detriment to the team. So pretty much I would be sitting on a team preventing other people from earning as much of a salary as they could be just because I was there. So it was a pretty easy decision for me to leave, just as a result of that. And then after that, I mean, root is the obvious choice. You know, I love Cats, I love Sloosh, and I like everybody on the team, Faith and KiwiCocky and everybody too. So it was really easy to just join afterwards.
How do you feel about, I mean, well, I guess first of all is, what percentage of wrongness do you think you actually did with the whole controversial thing that, you know, and again, I'm not going to go over it. I mean, and what percentage do you think was this kind of bandwagon being stirred up and people really taking things kind of out of context and blowing them out of proportion?
I mean, it's really hard to say on a lot of different levels. Personally, I stand by everything I say, and I don't have a problem with any kind of language or any kind of words being said ever. It's just the way that I am, and it's the way that I'll act. I don't say things I don't mean, and what I mean by that is I'm not going to say something and be like, oh shit, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that or whatever, because that's bullshit, and you're pretty much lying to people when you say that.
Yep.
In terms of how much got blown up and everything, I mean, I don't technically fault anybody for the way they reacted. I mean, I disagree with a lot of the ways that people think, but if you do disagree with something, I mean, going to a sponsor isn't necessarily a bad way to get things done. It's usually the quickest way to get things done. So I mean, I'm disappointed that as many people think certain things are the way they do, but in terms of how they go about getting it done, I don't necessarily disagree with that, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. Which kind of leads me on nicely to the next question, which was, how do you feel about kind of those corporate influences being exerted in what is, I guess, kind of, there's an argument about freedom of speech there and an argument about expression. It's something I've encountered myself where, you know, you get a tap on the shoulder from a company that maybe you work with and they say, sure, we'd really rather you didn't say this. And it always plays on my mind. I don't know how you personally feel about it.
Freedom of speech is so important. But freedom of speech goes both ways too. For instance, as a person, like, nobody technically tells me that I can't say anything I don't want to. I can say anything I want to. But on the same hand, corporations have their freedom to support who they do or don't want to. Nobody can force somebody to support you, you know, regardless of the language that they use. So, I mean, it's up to the corporation to support who they want to, and it's up to the person to decide how much they're going to cater to said organizations to earn their support. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess many people would say you've landed on your feet. I mean, all things told, are you happy with the way it worked out? Or honestly, if you could go back in time and not do what you did, would you take it back?
No, I think it's bullshit, and I'm never going to stand. Like you can argue for hours and hours about it. It's just, I don't know. It's like a 2-hour argument if you really want to get into.
Look, man, I got all the time. Like, I just want you to be brutally honest, because what I know the pressure again is to come out and say things you don't necessarily mean. But no, I don't think you're like that.
Yeah, no, I don't do that. Here's the way that I believe things in a nutshell. Okay. Fucking, like, when it comes to certain words, like the word faggot or whatever, like, everybody says the word faggot. Like, tons of people online say the word faggot. I say the word faggot. Like, it's just something that's become intrinsic to the gaming community, for better or for worse. Some people hate it, some people whatever. When it comes to things like homophobia, for instance, like, I'm not a homophobic guy at all. Like, I'll leg hump, like, TLO here or wherever and give him kisses and shit. Like, fucking, like, some of the people who mod my chat are homosexuals. Like, I have no problem with gay people. Tons of gay people. No, I have no problems with gay people. I've had gay friends in real life. For people to come in and say that because the words you use, like, can dictate your personality, like, it's really stupid and it's really shallow-minded. If you were to stop every single person on the planet today from using the word faggot, you wouldn't do anything to help like homosexual. Like it wouldn't help anybody, and it's stupid. Like I get so angry. Alex Garfield, like the head of EG, made that big like thread on Team Liquid, and like you act like you're saving the world by telling people what words they can or cannot use. If you told every homophobic person today to not use the word like faggot, do you think that they would be in favor of gay marriage the next day? Like it wouldn't help anything. They would just jump to another word, like I don't know, like toolsy, like just to make it up, you know? Like some kid gets, like people say like, well, this kid got beat up every day and people call him a faggot or whatever. And I mean, that sucks for that kid, but like, so you get everybody to stop saying faggot and all of a sudden kids are beating up kids saying, you fucking toolsy. Like, is that the word that you censor next? Like, does faggot become okay then, you know? Like the word nigger used to be completely off limits for everybody. But then it became like okay for a little bit, like okay such to the point to where black exploitation films in the 70s, like there's a movie called Boss Nigger.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Fred Williams. No, not Fred Williamson. I can't remember the name of the guy. It might be Fred Williamson.
But like they use it like freely in the movie, like Boss, like white people and black people, you know, and it's just like the way that they refer to them. And then you have black people today who use the word pretty much casually, like, you know, nigger is like a term of a sense of endearment, and they use it in a sense of pejoratively towards each other too.
So I guess what you're saying, context is ultimately vital.
Context is everything. You know, people say like you can't just say that like words have an intrinsic meaning, and it's like that's bullshit. Like nobody would ever say that words have intrinsic meaning. Like because for you to say that, like that would be like a gay guy. Anytime he's being called a faggot, he'd be like, no, like faggot just means a bundle of sticks. Like that's not going to bug me at all. Like that's stupid. Like obviously, you know, words take on new meanings. I guess the just like the basic point is you can't pigeonhole somebody into a certain ideology because of the language they use, and using certain language can't perpetuate ideologies because they exist entirely independent from the language used. It's entirely impossible to be homophobic and racist without using homophobic and racist language, and it's entirely possible to be using that language and not be homophobic and racist.
Okay.
That's where I stand.
And just quickly to end the debate class that we've got going on here and play a bit of devil's advocate, because I think it's an interesting debate, and being a journalist, I'm interested in language. What do you feel about the kind of dehumanizing qualities of such words that effectively, the reason that people object to them is because it takes you from being a person and into that particular word?
You can't dehumanize somebody with a word. Like fucking it's so infuriating to hear people say that, because when you look at the problems that homosexuals have, especially in the United States today, the problems that maybe atheists have had in the past and acceptance, the problem that black people have had in the past. If you were to go and like find a black person from the 40s and say, what's the biggest problem you're facing in your life? None of them are ever going to be say being called a nigger, you know? They're going to say fucking being enslaved, being institutionally fucked. Like, you have like separate but equal, you know, places, you know, having to go to the back of the bus, not being able to get a fucking job everywhere, getting screwed when you go to trial, you know, people calling people names. I mean, it happens, but the word could be anything. It's the actual shit that happens behind it that's the problem. And when you just try to change the word, you give everybody this happy, feel-good impression, like, oh, I got this guy to stop saying faggot the other day. It doesn't mean that you changed what he actually believes, though, you know, and that's the important thing. If you want to help gay people or black people or whatever, don't be racist. When your friends are racist, like, tell them to fuck that shit off. Like, I have a bunch of, like, I had a problem in my chat the other day where a bunch of people were, like, literally being anti-Semitic. Like, they didn't actually say, like, I don't even know what any Jewish insults are, but like, I mean, like that was a real problem. Like I talked to them and everything about it, and like that shit sucks. But like just getting people to change the words they say, it doesn't help anybody, and it doesn't change anybody's ideas. That's how I feel.
Okay, well, I guess there's a follow-on question to this, and that is, right, esports. I think it lacks characters, and I think it lacks people with the backbone to kind of stand up for what they believe in, be who they are, represent themselves honestly, rather than these personas that people seem to adopt, because people believe the minute you are yourself, if you say anything that's slightly unpalatable, you're watching just, you know, dollars just fly out the window. Do you feel that to be the case, that esports is really lacking more earthy and honest and real characters in the scene?
This is something that extends to every single area of our lives. It's not an esports specific problem. It's the same thing that goes out to the media, and it's the same thing that goes out to politics. Why is it called politically correct? Every time you act a certain way that could be seen as controversial by anybody, you effectively slice off that bit of people that could watch you. If I say that I really hate something, or if I use the word faggot, or if I only play StarCraft 2, like every single action that you do effectively splits off, you know, people that could watch you. So in a way, you are watching dollars fly out the window. That's why you see things like, that's why politicians always try to be really nice to everybody. It's why you cater to your, constituents every time you talk, because you're always trying to win widespread appeal. Being a personality is not consistent with winning widespread appeal. For an example of who's really good at that in the StarCraft 2 universe, like Day9 is somebody who's made a very, very, very large fan base for himself, and it's inarguably the most successful business model is to be as non-controversial as possible. So like, I mean, but like if you look at the way Day9 acts, like he really watches the language. He's not like crazy and out there and shit. And he's a relatively nice person on the outside, or you know, like in his streaming and everything. He's
how
nice
he represents himself.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, that's the best business model. Personally, I think it's kind of boring and a little bit disingenuous. But I mean, like, it's like a different argument. Like, if you want to make the most money, you're going to have to be nice to everybody. Like, but that's a rule of life. And that will never change in any area of your life ever. But I like personalities. I think that everybody acting in such a way is really boring. So I mean, I don't know. It's my...
Okay, well, I'll bring us back to StarCraft 2 for a bit while we're setting the world to rights.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I want to talk about a bit about the kind of route move again, you know, moving away from the controversial aspects of it or whatnot, and just talk about how different the kind of training regime is going to be. Because I know at Quantic, you know, well, from what I've been told, I think you probably is going to be facing a very different prospect now at route. Can you shed some light on that?
The biggest advantage you have to being in a team is getting to practice with the players on the team. Slush plays a lot. Cats is starting to play a lot, and we picked up Puck and Fitzy, who also practice a lot. Drewby's starting to practice a lot too, although he's been slacking a little bit lately. So, I mean, the biggest advantage of being a root is being able to play with those guys on a frequent basis. Slush, I respect probably more than anybody else in the world, and then Cat's right behind him in terms of being able to talk to people about strategies and have them correct my play. So, I'm excited about having those opportunities being on route now.
You're quite unique in the sense that you went out to Korea, and when you came back, you didn't really say you enjoyed it all that much. And I think for a lot of people, it would be like a dream, an opportunity to see how the other half live, whatever you want to call it. You came back and were pretty underwhelmed. Why was that?
I mean, I wouldn't say I was underwhelmed. I mean, it was nice being in a place where I could practice a lot, but a lot of people just have these really bad conceptions of like Korea is like this magical land where like even... Not to bash anybody, like there's a guy like QXC writes blogs about how Koreans have these like awesome training schedules where they custom and theory craft all day long, and it's like it's the reason why Koreans are so much better than foreigners is because they play a lot. They play a lot. Foreigners who practice 4 hours a day are never going to perform at a level where Koreans are practicing 10 hours a day, ever. So I mean, like that's like the main thing that's missing from the foreigner scene. If you were to put together a foreigner house with 10 guys that all practice 10 hours a day, I guarantee you the results they would put out would start to catch up to where the Koreans are at right now. Right now, I'm not going to bash any team houses, but there are no team houses right now set up that do that practice that much. That's what has to happen if foreigners want to catch up. I mean, I don't think they're...
So that doesn't mean you're buying into the EG frat house thing, does it? Was that a veiled reference there?
I mean, in a way, it's kind of true. I mean, I don't know if I would call it a frat house. It's a little bit insulting. But I mean,
yeah, Total Biscuit comes out with anything, though, doesn't he? So
Total Biscuit is a pretty controversial guy. But I mean, in a way, I mean, it's kind of like they could practice a lot more there. Even Idra admitted that. I think Idra took offense yesterday to the frat house comment, but even Idra in the past has said, I wish people in the EG house would practice more. And that's about his own house, so that was probably toned down a little bit. And I mean, and again, not to sound like a dick, but I mean, it's kind of obvious about the results that come out. Like, obviously, they're not playing all 10 hours a day. They're like that should be pretty obvious based on the results that are coming out. I mean, it's not a well-known fact, but like I've said this a million times, there are 300 people on the Korean ladder that could be rank 1 GM in Europe or North America that nobody's ever heard of before. It's just because they practice a lot. That's it. That's it. There's no secret training regimen or secret custom games that go on. It's just the amount of practice you do.
So with that in mind, we're going to talk a little bit about the Ministry of Win. I mean, are you looking forward to going there? I mean, do you think it's going to have a huge impact on how you do things, or do you think it's going to be a little bit like career all over again? You already kind of know the answers.
I mean, I know the answers. I know what's needed. It's just a matter of training. It's like weight training in a gym. Like you have to go and do it. Like there's no secret way around it. And Poland is going to be where I actually test like the mettle of like how far I think I can go in competitive gaming. Like I'll be there for 3 months and I'll be playing a lot. If I can't make anything happen after those 3 months, then I'll probably consider switching to either a different game or maybe more of an entertaining position. Because I'm going to be playing a lot. Like if I can't make anything happen after that 3 months, then there's probably no point in pursuing it any further.
Well, I mean, I imagine you'd be in high demand. It's again, you've kind of preempted the question. This is what it's like when you interview, you know, people who are probably in the same kind of position as me. But it's right in control. You know, he's another example who he wears many hats. He is a personality. He's a pundit. He's a commentator. He's a player. So when you balance all of that, it gets you maximum exposure, perhaps it even boosts your revenue, but it comes at the price of performances.
Yes.
Can you identify with that, and do you think maybe that how out there you are in the public eye actually impacts on how you play?
Actually, there's two things. There's everything, and then there's being a player. And those two things are separate from each other. Like when I first started doing StarCraft 2 professionally, I wanted to do everything. I wanted to play, I wanted to cast, I wanted to do YouTube stuff and make shows, because it all looked fun. But like when you get to actually doing it, if you want to be a player, you're not doing anything else. You can't do casting, you can't do YouTube stuff, you can't be on talk shows. You just have to be playing a lot. Because that's what you do. Like if you want to be really good, you have to put the time in to be good. It's a lot of effort. If you don't play though, then that opens up the door for a lot more. Obviously, you look at people like Husky or Day9 who does everything, or even like HD StarCraft. People don't even talk about that much anymore. But like he was really big on YouTube. Or In Control, who does a little bit of every. Like if you look at people that try to do a little bit of everything, you'll always notice their results are never there for the actual game. Not to bash on In Control, because he's a cool guy or whatever, but like In Control does a lot of shit. And his results have never really quite been there in terms of performing, but I wouldn't expect him to be. There's just no way you can do everything at once, you know?
So we're winding down now. Last two questions. First is just a bit about the Home Story Cup. Are you kind of disappointed with the way things went down for you, or are you just happy to be here because, you know, it's a bit more relaxed and everyone's having a beer and having a good time? I
mean, I didn't come here to win the tournament. I don't even think I came here with the expectations of moving out of group stages. I mean, obviously the people who are really good. I'm kind of out of shape right now. I took a game off Mana. My series with Mana was really good. I wouldn't be ashamed to have that casted anywhere by anybody, which is saying something because he just won the DreamHack. So I feel really good about that. And then after that, my next series, I lost to Mana 2-1. So then when I came up against Snoot, he just plays like so out there. Like my mind was blown, and I got annihilated by him 2-0. Not annihilated, but I got beat pretty bad by him 2-0. So at that point, I can't move on. So I mean, between those two sets, by the time I got to sleep, I just wanted to be done and play poker. So I had 6-pulled him, and
Right, and the last question, I hope you got a good answer for me because I've been looking forward to hearing it. If you could change one thing about the esports scene tomorrow, click of the fingers, what would it be?
More boobs.
Come on, I'm not going to let you get away with more boobs.
I can't say that?
No, it's not you can't say it. You just did. But I mean, it's like, come on, it's a wishy-washy answer. I expect better.
You expect better? Man. The one wish I would have is for the community to mature a bit as a whole. Not just in like dealing with me or whatever, but just as a whole. Like the witch hunts against everybody is kind of disappointing. The way that like StarCraft Reddit is a good example. The way that like image macros or funny pictures get to the top and real discussion and actual talking about the game tend to get pushed aside. One of the things that disappointed me the most is like when the issue with me popped up, that thread had like 500,000 views in like a day. Complexity runs like an academy for like new players to come and have tournaments to like showcase players, and their thread had like 300,000 views in like 6 months. And it's like, where are the priorities at, but that'll never happen.
It's worth a wish though, right?
Sure. Can I say one thing actually about that?
Yeah, please, keep going.
Okay, so just like a little thing, a lot of people always talk about like their disappointment in the community. Kenny released a video blog recently about boobs and stuff. A lot of people talk about this community and they fail to realize that like if you have like a community of humans, there are like universal things that happen between everybody. And I get disappointed when people are surprised every time that happens. Like, image memes are always going to be upvoted to the top on everything, just because it's just the nature of how people are. Girls are always going to be, like, when your demographic is, like, 16 to 24-year-old males, like, why would you post something saying, like, we need to have girls not being asexual? Like, it's marketing 101. Like, you have to. Like, and it works,
It definitely does.
Yeah. I think people should spend more time trying to channel the community positively rather than keep trying to change the community, because communities of people don't change. Like, it's just not possible. Nobody's done it in the history of mankind. It'll never work. All right, let's start on that.
I think it's a great point to end on. Honestly, I think it's been an illuminating interview. Certainly exceeded my expectations for what we were going to talk about, so thanks a lot for that. It really means a lot. To all the people out there at Carrot.org, do stay tuned to the website. We're going to be bringing you more video interviews from him at the Home Story Cup 5 in Crefeld.